All right, let's jump right in. Today we're tackling the worldview presented in the Voyagers material. And let me tell you, it's a lot. It's incredibly dense, super complex, and it basically challenges everything we think we know about reality. So think of this as a rapid-fire tour. Let's get to it.
So the whole thing really kicks off with this one fundamental question, and it's a big one. What if our reality isn't what it seems? I mean, really think about that. What if all the facts we've built our lives around are, well, just assumptions? What if all those ancient myths, those UFO sightings, all of it, what if they aren't just fantasy, but actual glimpses into a reality that is way, way stranger than we can imagine?
And look, the source material itself gives us a heads up that this isn't going to be a walk in the park. It's framed as a challenge right from the get-go. It's not supposed to be just a simple story you read, it's something that's meant to really push against your existing beliefs. The idea is, if you can keep an open mind, what you find could be, well, completely transformational. Okay, so Section 1, Our Reality Questioned. We're talking about reevaluating ancient myths and modern phenomena. The first big idea here is that we need to look at our history completely differently. The source basically says, hey, you know all those ancient stories about gods and demons coming from the sky? Maybe they weren't just superstitions. Maybe they were literal historical records of contact, kind of like the UFO reports we hear about today.
And this is where the whole idea of aliens gets a lot more complicated. The source material says forget the simple idea of little green men from Mars. These visitors, as it calls them, aren't just from other planets. They could be interstellar, sure, but they could also be interdimensional, from a parallel reality right next to ours, or even intertime, meaning they're traveling here from our own future or our own past. Next up, visitors among us. And the key takeaway here is that not all otherworldly beings have the same agenda. Yeah, if you have visitors from all these different places and times, it makes sense that they'd have wildly different motivations, right? We're not talking about one single group here, but a whole bunch of different factions, and they all want something different from, well, from us.
So you can pretty much break it down into two main camps. Think of it like the good guys and the not-so-good guys. On one side, you've got the Guardian Alliance. These are supposedly the benevolent elder races, and their goal is to help us evolve, to help us reach our full potential. But then you have the intruders. Think of certain factions of the Zeta Greys. Their agenda, according to the source, is all about manipulation, study, and exploitation, using stuff like mind control and abductions to get what they want.
And this whole framework isn't just presented as some abstract theory. The source actually grounds it in the author's own claimed personal experiences. Their journey apparently started with these really terrifying abductions by the intruder Greys. It was only when the Guardian Alliance stepped in to intervene that things changed, and that's supposedly how all this information came through.
Okay, so we've got visitors from different dimensions, different factions with different agendas. It's a lot. But here's the next big question. What if this conflict isn't just happening up in distant skies? What if there's a secret war going on right here on Earth, right under our noses?
That brings us to Section 3, a covert conflict. We're talking about a hidden war for human consciousness. And no, this isn't a war fought with tanks and planes. According to this material, it's a battle for our minds, for our very perception of reality. And it's being waged with technologies that are so advanced, we wouldn't even know they were there.
So, who's involved on the human side of things? The source points to something it calls the interior government. Now, this isn't your everyday government. We're talking about super-secret, clandestine groups within our world governments. And the allegation is that they have technology we can't even dream of, because they're working with the intruder ETs, making deals behind the scenes.
So, what kind of tech are we talking about? One of the key tools mentioned is something called holographic inserts. And this is some serious sci-fi stuff. It's not just about tricking your mind. This is supposedly a technology that can create a shared mass hallucination, a reality overlay that everyone sees. You can imagine how that could be used to fake historical events or manipulate what everyone believes is happening right now.
And then there's the supposed end game for all this control, the frequency fence. This is the ultimate tool of suppression. The idea is that it's a sound-based technology designed to do one thing: lock our consciousness into a very narrow little box. It would block our higher senses, our intuition, basically severing our connection to our higher self, or what the source calls our soul matrix.
So you have to ask yourself, why? Why go to all this trouble? The secret governments, the mind control tech, the frequency fence. What is the ultimate prize in this huge, hidden war? Well, according to this material, what's happening on Earth is just one small battle in a much, much older and larger cosmic war. Which brings us to An ancient cosmic war, the struggle for humanity's divine heritage. See, this whole thing isn't just about controlling one planet. It's about a massive, ancient conflict over the very essence of humanity. It's a fight for our DNA, our spiritual heritage, and our place in the cosmos.
So, let's look at the major players on this cosmic chessboard. First, you've got the Christos founders races. These are beings like the Elohi, Elohim, and the Seraphi, Seraphim. They're presented as the original guardians, the ones who wanted to help humanity achieve its 12-strand DNA potential. On the other side, you have the fallen angelic legions. This includes groups like the Anu Elohim, who are linked to the Anunnaki, and the Draconians. Their goal is basically the opposite: to take control, hybridize us, and cut us off from our divine blueprint for good.
So what's the fight really all about? It boils down to two things. First, our DNA. Specifically, a dormant 12-strand angelic human DNA template that we all supposedly carry. And second, control of the universe's Stargate system, a natural network of cosmic portals. The source says humanity was originally meant to be the guardians of this system.
Okay, so after all that cosmic history, it all comes back down to us. Right here, right now, this is humanity's crossroads. We're talking about two potential futures, and which one we get is completely determined by the choices we're making today.
So what are the options on the table? Well, path number one is the manipulated timeline. Think of a covertly controlled society, a kind of invisible big brother watching over everything. Humanity ends up hybridized, serving the agendas of the intruders, with our perceptions totally limited by that frequency fence. Path number two, though, is the enlightened timeline. This is a future where we're free, a society based on tolerance and spiritual growth, where we actually reclaim that 12-strand DNA, unlock our higher senses, and become the planetary guardians we were meant to be.
Okay, so how do we make sure we end up on that enlightened path? Well, the source is really clear on this. The key isn't to go out and fight a physical war. The battle is internal. It all comes down to a personal awakening, to developing and learning to trust our emotions and our intuition. You know, the very things the other side is supposedly trying to shut down.
So, the material actually lays out a kind of game plan for personal sovereignty. Step 1, you have to consciously connect with your higher self, your soul matrix. Step 2, you got to outgrow prejudice, embrace tolerance, and actually unite with other people. And step 3, you need to actively train your emotional and intuitive abilities so you can tell the difference between what's real and what's just a holographic illusion.
So at the end of the day, the Voyagers' material lays out a really stark choice. It paints this incredible picture of humanity as a species with this forgotten, almost godlike potential that's caught in the crossfire of a cosmic war. But here's the kicker. The outcome isn't set in stone. It all comes down to us, to our ability to wake up, to see through the illusion, reclaim our own power, and choose our own future. So, the final question is, which path will humanity choose?